Chris, I'm gonna start now. Just a second, please. Pessoal, vocês estão me ouvindo bem? Alguém pode me dar uma indicação pelo chat, por gentileza? Obrigado. Então, pessoal, aqui é o Galvão, da PHP Conference Brasil. Eu tenho o prazer de dar as boas-vindas, a primeira participação do Chris no evento. Eu conheci o Chris em 2014, na PHP Conference Argentina. É um cara super envolvido com a comunidade uruguaia de PHP, hoje mora na Nova Zelândia. Tá? Então, para mim é uma felicidade pessoal muito grande ter o Chris aqui com a gente hoje. Chris, all I said now in Portuguese was things about you, so they all know it right now. I'm just kidding, man. I was just telling them how I value your participation here in the event today, and how lucky we are to have you. So, my friend, thank you so much for sharing your time and your knowledge with us, and you're clear to go and have a really good one, man.
Okay. Thank you very much, my friend. It's a huge honor and privilege for me to be part of this great event. So it's probably one of the most powerful and with most trajectory in the open source community in Latin America. So it's a great pleasure for me to having this opportunity. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. It's all yours, man. Have a good one.
Thank you very much. Welcome everyone. So, kia ora, it says meaning of welcome in the Maori language. So, my name is Chris Mazur. Before I start, so I would like to do a quick review about the agenda that we have for today. Initially, I was thinking about the idea that I would like to know who is the people that is attending the session. So if any of you want to share a 30-second, 1 minute about why are you here, why are you attending this session, if you want to share anything from your side, so now it's the moment to let me know through the chat yeah, so it would be great for me to know why, or if you what would be your expectation about this session. So after that, so I'm going to do a very short introduction about me. So what I'm doing, why I'm talking about a community, what's my experience in community, and basically why I recently start to research and trying to learn more about community strategy. After that, we will have the presentation, the Q&A, and basically after that, so it's an open space, so just in case anyone has any proposal or any idea about how this presentation could continue. This is a few considerations that I would like to do for this presentation. So initially, I'm not an expert in community, yeah. So I'm not a marketing person. I'm not a sales, so I haven't really studied any career around community. So my experience is basically I'm a technical person, and I have been involved in communities during the last probably 12 years. So it's basically what I'm trying to do is organize the content that I have been learning during the last few years, heavily involved in communities from the members' point of view. So regarding this presentation, it's basically the baby step for what I have been doing the research. Yeah, so obviously I don't know everything about community, so it's just so I'm not expecting you expect to me reply all the answers that you might have around community. So I'm completely open to suggestion or any comments and any moment. So if you have any question or anything that you would like to add in the presentation, raise your hand and let me know. And yeah, so the idea is to make a presentation very, very flexible, and also adding content from your side as well, if it's possible. As you probably my notes or my English is not the best in terms of pronunciation or grammar. So if there is anything that you don't understand, any idea or concept that I'm trying to explain and I'm not being clear enough, so yeah, please let me know. So I'm completely fine with that. So there is no problem at all. Also, if there is anything on my presentation that you think that is not appropriate for the session, please let me know. So I obviously did my best, but yeah, so I'm a human, so I might make mistakes. So I'm completely open to review the content or change it if it's necessary. Also, feel free to interrupt me at any time. Yeah, so I really would like to do a quite dynamic conversation with you all. In terms of time, so it's I'm not completely sure if we are going to take 1 hour. So probably will be around 25-35 minutes. So if after that we have more time to discuss or use the time for whatever we consider that might be appropriate, or yeah, just you will have a free time after my session. A little bit about me. So my name is Christian Mazur. So most people call me Chris. I'm an IT consultant, software engineer, and obviously I'm enthusiastic and passionate about strategy, and that's the reason because I'm giving this session today. During the last 3 years, I have been working in. I formed my own company, which is a solo company. So I'm doing consultancy in the tech in the IT industry. So it's basically my main activity at the moment. So I have 20 years of experience working in the industry. But yeah, obviously community is always my passion, and this is probably one of the things that I'm most interested at the moment. I'm originally from Argentina, but during the last 7.5 years, I have been living in New Zealand. So I'm very, very grateful to have the opportunity to live here. So I live in Wellington, which is the capital of New Zealand, and probably one of the most beautiful cities in the world. So if you had a chance one day to visit New Zealand, in particular Wellington, I strongly recommend to visit this part of the world because it's really nice. So why I'm involved with communities? So basically, I start, I would say, because I wanted to be connected with people. Yeah. So but most importantly, after that, so it's basically I found very, very quick that tech communities, which is basically the topic of the session. Yeah. So I'm particularly talking about tech communities. Gave me the opportunity to connect very, very quickly with people in the industry, share ideas, and learn about the topics that I'm interested in. And it's a very effective and very productive way to help other people as well. Yeah. So it's in terms of what I'm personally I'm involved with the community is basically the idea to giving back to the community, and this is probably the main reason, because I'm after several years being involved, so I'm still continue being interested and very active in tech communities in different regions, not only in New Zealand, Australia, but also in South America as well. So my experience in community is basically mostly organizing tech conferences. So even when I started probably 13, 14 years ago, being involved in software development project and open source project back in the university in Argentina. So the real passion about community from my my experience is basically when I start to be heavily involved with most of active members of the community, and the channel for that was basically organizing conferences. So these are the logo of a few of the conferences that I have found or co-found during the last 10 years. So in the next slide, so it's basically you can see all that I have been doing in communities experience. So I'm the co-founder and the co-organizer of the PHP Conference Argentina, the founder and organizer of several conferences here in New Zealand. In 2019, I created a project called Service Mesh Day, which was a conference that happened in San Francisco in 2019 with the support of Google and Linux Foundation. And the next, the city for 2020 was originally Melbourne in Australia, but well, obviously after that, all this plan was before COVID, which make a huge impact in the tech in most conference industry in the world. Yes, in terms of meetups, so I organize several meetups, in most of them in Australia, in New Zealand, sorry. I also help organizations with their community strategy and open source projects to improve and optimize the strategy around community. Why I'm talking about community? First, as I told you before, so community is one of my strongest passion. Yeah, so I'm a technical person, so I have been working in the tech industry for several years, but obviously there is some magic around community that's make me feel very passionate and interested about community. I'm a strong believer in the power of connecting communities, organizations, and teams. Yeah, so I think that in this new era of digital transformation and all the changes that are happening in terms of organizations to optimize the work and trying to make the life of the member of organizations. I think that communities is playing a key role in there. It's not really playing, it's going to play a really interesting role in terms of add value and add another alternatives to make people happier in their organizations. Obviously, I'm still enjoying the technology side of the industry, so I'm I'm a lot more interested in people at the moment. So it's basically I'm really enjoy programming. I really enjoy the challenge in terms of technical side, but to be honest, so people to me is the more interesting and more challenging part of resolving issues in our general community. Yeah, so it's people is very complex, and it's very interesting and very challenging finding the way to resolve everyday problem. Obviously, in terms of people, also there are a few personal history which basically make me do more generate more commitment from my side in terms of trying to help people. Yeah, so I found in the community the opportunity to help people who is basically joining the industry, people who are immigrants, and also people that might have some kind of mental issues in terms of health issues. That it's very important the support from the community perspective, and make them feel that they are not completely alone with their day-to-day job. Yeah, so the community, it's to me, it's a very powerful tool in terms of helping people that really need the support from others. The collaborative knowledge is basically the idea that as at some point you can measure the intelligence of one person by their ability, the ability of he or her neurons in the brain to interact and resolve problems. Yeah, so it's basically that's the way that our brain works, and this is the way that we as individuals resolve problems, and the way that we learn new things. This idea, if you apply this concept to organization, so it's basically the capacity of connect the knowledge of the organization members makes also the capacity of the organization to resolve problems, and is directly connected with the intelligence of the organization. And again, so this idea of connecting knowledge in organizations and community, to me, it's an extremely passionate topic. Mostly now in the that we talk a lot about digital transformation and all the change that we are trying to do to improve our lifestyle in the economic, but also in our life. Yes. So let's start about what is actually a community. Yeah, so it's one important consideration again is basically I'm talking exclusively about tech communities. Yeah, so I'm not talking about religions, I'm not talking about school, I'm not talking about any other kind of community, even when you can apply this definition, and many of these concepts can be applied for different communities. So I'm especially thinking about the tech communities when I made any observation. So basically, it's it's a group of people which is connected by a common interest. Yeah, so that's mean that for example, you might say, okay, so people going to a concert or people going to a restaurant for a dinner, so they might be a community because they have some common interest. In the case of the concert, they are interested in attending one of their bands which is playing in the concert, or if they are going to a restaurant, so they are interested in having a good food or dinner or lunch or whatever. But the difference with an actual community is basically when a concert finish or a restaurant close at the night. So it's basically all these people, they don't continue get connected each other, and they don't collaborate doing anything. So this is one crucial definition for community, which basically is the community provide a space where people can get together, can connect, and potentially they can collaborate each other. So and this is what makes different the concept of community with any other activities that we do in our everyday life. Yes. The idea of the idea around we are the community, it's in particular in the tech space. I know that it might sound very obvious, but not necessarily is the way that new members in the community or maybe people from unrepresented groups in tech communities can feel can have the same feelings around what is a community. Yes. Obviously, people and organizations are the key elements in this definition of community. So when I say we are the community, I'm saying that you and me are the community. So no matter how much you and me can bring to the tables, there is always room for everyone to collaborate and help others. So so that's a very important concept for people to understand, that the community are not only the heroes that post thousands or hundreds of tweets every month. There are not only the meetup organizer, there are not only the conference organizers. We are our community. Also this idea that you and me are the community is to support, at some point should keep in mind the idea that there are a lot of people that suffer of imposter syndrome or other mental health issues, which basically they need the support constantly from all other members in the community. So why build a community? So so part of this presentation is we all know or we can perceive what is the good thing about being involved in any communities. Yes, but there is an aspect that it might be very interesting for me, which is basically why communities or the concept of community should be something that the enterprise and the corporate sector should be interested. So that's because the community is not always the people getting together to try to resolve something. Yeah, so it's basically from the enterprise point of view. There are opportunities to connect with the community and together build something that is positive for everyone, for the members of the community and for the enterprise sector as well. So this basically the slide that we are going to see in the next few minutes so are basically based on the idea that why it's interesting for organizations or enterprise or any kind of organizations to pay more attention in building a strategy around community. So the first item is customer and user engagement. So it's basically the idea that the members of the community start to connect with your project, your product, or your organization. Is basically start to provide and share an environment where you start to build a closer relationship between your business and your potential customers. Yeah, so it's not the same if you have to plan all the strategy around sales or marketing to try to offer your products or your service to your customers. But if you can start build a community, is you at some point you are not completely alone in the process of make your project more successful. So basically, there are significantly importance in the impact of promoting your products in potential customers. So marketing and customer success. So basically, if you don't have a community, so you are extremely fully dependent on your marketing and public relations teams, which when you have a small project, or a small organization, so it's could be fine. But when you start to grow, so the idea that you need all you fully depend on those teams, so start to restrict your potentials in terms of growing the organization. So because obviously your resources in terms of create those teams of people who can resolve problems, so it's you have limited resources. Yeah, so you cannot have if you don't have the budget, so you cannot have a big team of sales, or you cannot have a big or the best probably a team of marketing. So the community in that case, applying some strategy could be a very helpful way to help with your basically with your marketing experience. The other one is education and support. So it's basically all organizations providing product or service. So they need to provide content in terms of what they are doing, what their product are resolving, and how customers should use their product. Yeah, so this is an extremely expensive process. Yeah, so you need to be all the time generating the content, updating the content, reviewing the content. So, and basically, if you can include the community as part of this process, so that's something that can help to minimize the amount of resources that you internally to the organization have to apply for these goals. The fourth one is product and technology development. So that's for example the case of open source project. Yeah, so you have an idea, you have a product that you want to build, you don't have enough resources, and you think that this product is going to be useful for a particular group of people, and you start to advocate the idea to more people being involved in the project and help to develop the project. So that's how basically the open source basically the companies that are based their strategy, their business strategy around open source are working at the moment. Yeah, so it's basically they create the project, they try to bring people, help them to develop the project. And people, because they think that it's something positive for the community, start to collaborate. So that an important note here is basically member of the community, they don't join your community because they want you make rich, or they don't want you to progress in terms of economical side. So it's basically they always join your community because they think that it's important for them and it's important for the community. And the last item is business capability. So it's basically when you start to connect with the community, so they start to provide feedback around about your products and service, and that's start to be a flow where you can get a constant feedback from what are you doing from people that is heavily involved and engaged with your product or service, which is very valuable from the organization point of view. Also, the people that are committed with your project, so they are probably very interesting candidates in terms of talent recruitment. Yeah, so it's basically organizations who are involved in the open source community. They try to hire people which are already working for them in the project, because it's people that they don't need to train. They already know that they commitment with the project. So it's a very helpful way for organizations to connect with potential talent that are going to join the organization. So with all this, so how we build the community, yeah, so how we start to build a community, and especially powerful, which basically would be very productive and engaged and very active communities. Yeah, so and the first note that we need to know is that building communities is very hard. So it's extremely hard, because you never know what is going to happen. Yeah, so you might apply all recipes that you might think that are okay, but not necessarily all these recipes are going to work. So building a community imply interaction with people. People is very complex sometimes, and you don't really need how it's going to work in the future. So there is no guarantee that your community is going to success, but yeah, so there is always ways to understand why your community is not working, what you can do better, and what would be a good plan for you to start to planning your community strategy. And obviously that's the idea of building a community can apply for an external community or an internal community. Yeah, so you might find an organization that's as part of the digital transformation journey, they want to start build an internal community to improve the quality of the organization. In both cases, so it's very hard. So it's not an easy process to do. So the basic step of how to build a community are initially what you have to identify who your who basically is, who is the person that is going to be connected with your project or organization. So it's basically at some point identify your personas. Who do I care about, and who do or my organization share an interest, most importantly, who I want to help. Yes, with this idea of building the community. The other aspect is to define your why. So once you have your who is basically I would say it's an item that you might alter the order, or you can define at the same time. Yeah, so but it's very important in both cases to know who and the why. So it's the people that who is the people, and why are the reason that you are going to build this community. And basically in the why, it's trying to identify what's the member of the community need from you. what are the changes that you are proposing, and what are the problems that together your organizations and the members are going to solve. And obviously all this idea connect you with the mission and values that you have to define in your very early stage of the organization. So, and the mission and the value of the community is not only about what are the mission of the value of the organization, but also need to include what's the impact of the member of your community. Yes, when you talk about community, so you cannot talk anymore about what are your interests or what are your organization interests. So you need to start to talk all the time about what is best for everyone, so including your organization and members of the organization. Define an initial engagement model and how would be the flows where on how the members are going to connect with your communication, with your organizations or community. So basically, this is defining a framework that you are going to use to define how your community are going to work. Yeah. So in this aspect, you can define in a very not in the very low level, so in the big picture, so you can identify 3 different options that you can use to define what would be the best framework to establish your community strategy. And basically this framework, this model, and based on the type of the members that you are looking for your community. So these 3 high-level members would be the consumer, the champions, and the collaborators. So the consumers is basically people who share a common space and interest about something. Yeah. So and the commitment with the organization of the product is still quite low. So it's basically, for example, it could be people that are interested in one particular movie or one particular type of movies, and they meet each other in person or virtually, and they connect and they share ideas, they share news, they share anything that are interesting for them in particular in that space. For example, movies and sport or whatever other topics that you might find that people basically share knowledge and share news or share anything about this particular topic. So it's by far one of the simplest framework to design. It's basically the idea with this is basically you need to set up the space, you need to provide the space, and you need to organize activities, but there is no huge complexity in terms of doing something like this. Yeah. So the second framework, the second model that you might use for the community is the champion. So that's the idea about champions. So obviously already include all the characteristics that we have for the consumer, but also the champions has a higher degree of commitment with the organizations. So basically, they not only connect each other, but also they start to generate content, they support the project, basically with the idea to support other people. So and that's very interesting model when members not only connect each other because they are interested in one particular topic or try to resolve one particular problem, but also they start to collaborate, they add content, they generate documentation, they generate videos, they generate everything that could be very, very useful for other new members to join your community. And also they have a high degree of commitment in terms of helping your organization and helping your project to expand your network. And obviously they at some point they start to do some kind of advocacy activities in terms of helping promoting your projects and your ideas. And the third option here is collaborators, which is basically they do all the activities that the previous two frameworks do as well, but the difference with that is they also start to work each other in terms of contribute with your project. So that would be a good example of that would be the open source project where developers get together and they actually start to work on building software which are basically going to be part of your product. The other aspect, the other item of how to build the community is establish a mid or long-term plan. Yeah, so basically the idea with establish not a short long-term a short-term plan is basically because you need all the organizations to stick to the plan and all the areas that are connected with the project in terms of building the community, they need to be aligned with the project. Yeah, so and that's you need to set up an internal vision about where you are and where you want to go in the next 6 months or in the next 12 months. Yeah, so and you need to everyone keep continue working aligned in terms of all the stage of the project are going to happen. Otherwise, it's very easy for people to lose the attraction or the results are the same that you were expecting from the very beginning. So it's very hard for them to continue the commitment with the project. Obviously, you need to define a leadership. So the leader is extremely useful. It's extremely important in the community culture. So you always need people that help to define what to do. Yeah. So it's basically the idea around communities that basically not everyone is 100% commit all the time with the project. So it's basically you will find people that are involved in the project for 1 month, the next month or 2 or 3 or 4 months they don't do anything. And yes, it's not that you constantly have all the people that you need, or you don't have constantly all the same people doing the same. So basically the idea to have a good leadership in terms of balance who is doing what. So it's very important to don't let the community die. Yes. Probably one of the most important items here is a healthy culture and a clear expectation. Yeah. So in terms of, so basically the idea around the healthy and the clear culture is having, for example, a really good code of conduct. Yeah. So and make everyone knows that you as a project, as a community, you treat people as equal, and everyone is welcome independently of any characteristic, which could be gender, sexuality, political orientation, professional background, age, culture, socioeconomic situation, or whatever reason could be that my people feel that they are not comfortable with your community. Right. So in the idea to building the community, it's the members, they have this something that is called community belonging path. So it's basically the idea about what are all the steps that the community members are going to go when they join your community. So basically, obviously at some point they have access, or they know your project, so they join your projects, and they start to read about the documentation. They start to read about why they might be a link between why they are showing your community, and why they think that your community is going to add value to them. So that in that process, so it's the process for them to learn and understand why your community exists. It's very important. So after all this process is done, so basically they start to contribute to the community. So that the contribution could be anything. So it basically could be documentation, start to contribute with ideas, they could contribute with code, and this is a process that basically will help them to start to feel a kind of self-respect from part of a self-respect from their point of view. Yeah, so they start to feel that they slowly start to belong to the community, because they are starting to add value to the project. Yeah, so once they have their feelings, so the next stage, and when they continue, they add value to your project for a period of time, so they start to feel this idea about dignity. So that basically means that they start to feel that they are recognized by the community and by other members. So they start to feel that they are growing inside your organizations, and they are going to your community also care about them. Yes, because the value that they are contributing to the project. So after that, so the members they start to have this idea about they are really doing a big impact in with their job, day-to-day job, and a big impact in the community, which could be an internal members, or could be whatever your community do. Yeah, so and the last stage of this community belonging part is the idea of belonging. So the sense of belonging is the most important thing in the community. So the idea that everyone feel welcome, and everyone feel that they really belong to this project and community. It's the most important thing that any community can have. This is basically regarding the who and why. So this could be, for example, some ideas about how you could identify the members. Yeah, so how you can identify the personas that are going to be connected with your community, and who and how are they going to interact with your organizations. Yeah, so basically the idea of capabilities is basically say, okay, what they can do. So are they developers, are they writers, are trying to understand who are the people that you need to join the community. Also trying to understand what's the experience they have. So it's basically what's the background, and which other project they were involved in terms of community or not, to understand how they can contribute to your project. obviously the motivation why they should be showing the community, and or what are they showing your community. Also, what are they fair? So it's basically, for example, I don't know. So someone say, I need help organizing a meetup, and one of my members, they are completely afraid about people not attending the meetup. So trying to understand what stop people to do activities in your community is very important. And the rewards is one of the interesting and probably most important part of the community. So it's basically trying to let them know that you really appreciate the work that they are doing for your organization and community. It's extremely important. Also in the idea with the who and the why, so we have the flow. So for basically for new members, so it's basically you need to have a good documentation. You need to be very active in social media and generating content to attract more people. And when you attract the people and they get interested in your project, so you need to have a good information about what are you doing, and how is the flow on how they can start to contribute with your project. Obviously, the tooling that you are going to use for all this part, it's very important. So it's not the most important. So you always will find different ways to resolve the problem. So the tools, basically, the idea with the toolings is basically optimize the time, optimize the flow, and try to automate as much as possible in case that your community is growing very, very fast. So it's very, very hard if you do all manual process in terms of connecting members or in terms of providing information to them. So it's quite complex when your community starts to grow. Something that it's very, very important in terms of the flow. Is the idea of mentoring. So mentor your new members is a very, very powerful strategy in terms of community to help them know what to do. They need to know who they can contact if they don't understand something, if they need to know something, if they have any comment or any issue with your organization. Basically, the idea with the values and how are your organizations going to work. So it's basically you need to define what are your expectations from the people. So how is the process. Very important aspect is let everyone knows that there are no stupid questions. Yeah, so it's basically that's something very, very important, to always let everyone know that the organization is open to receive questions or comments or whatever can add value to the organizations and can make a more diverse space for everyone. And the idea about the give them the appreciation about what they are doing is extremely important for the community. As I mentioned before, so we have an external and an internal community. So it's basically the internal communities are more connected with this idea of digital transformation in the organizations. So it's communities are one very effective way in which organizations are trying to canalize the all these changes are around digital transformation. Obviously, you can mix communities, so you can have an organization where they coexist an internal and an external communities. This is obviously a quite challenging model, because there are a lot of considerations that you need to keep in mind. For example, legal restrictions. So there are some information or some content or some part of the project that they might be only accessible for internal members and not for external members. So it's there is always a complexity doing that. But yeah, so there are many organizations that are trying to build a mix of community, which basically introduce new ideas and fresh air to the organization as well. Yeah. So one example of mixed organizations could be the for example, if your company provide an API service for resolve any problem, and you have a community of developers using all these API services, they can build their own product based on your APIs. So at some point, you are building a community where the organizations keep one part of the project, and the members, each member owns their own part of the project, which are basically consuming your product. So that's at some point start to build a community where you have internal and external people involved in the project. So something extremely important in the community is the diversity. So you need to challenge all the time and check all the time if your community is diverse enough. Yeah, so that's something extremely complex. So something that it could be something that you will find when you start building a community is that because you start building a community with the people who are closer to you, so and not necessarily the people who are closer to you are diverse enough. So it's basically you are growing, building the community, and the community is growing with the group of people which is not diverse. So you need to challenge all the time and check all the time that you are being diverse enough to let everyone be part of your community, but also add new ideas, new value to your community. If you want to start a community, start small. Always start small. So if you don't know how to do it, so start asking the people that is very close to you, and they could, and you could identify that they are interested in helping you, or they are interested in your project. So that would be the best way to start with the community. This is an example about something that I'm doing at the moment. So after many years of being involved in conferences, I decide to, and because COVID-19 also pushed me to start more online activities. So I started an online meetup called Connectar.dev, which basically is an initiative to connect people from developers from the Asia Pacific region. So, and I started this project 2 months ago. So we already have around 200 members. We have people from Hong Kong, so from China, Singapore, Malaysia, Indonesia, Australia, New Zealand. So also people from South America as well. So yeah, so that's a very small example about what we are doing, and yeah, so it's a very productive and very interesting project, which yeah, it's not very complex to do, and anyone can start doing something like this. Yes. Well, that's all from my side. So unfortunately, I use all the time. So we don't. I feel that we don't have too much time for question or So a few references that I would like to highlight, which probably some of the content from this slide are taken from those books. So one is People Powered by John Bacon and Get Together. There are two interesting books that have very valuable content in terms of community strategy. So I don't know if we have time for question, but if not, so you have my email address, so feel free at any time to contact me and yeah, let me know your comments or any question that you might want to ask regarding anything connected with community. So I don't know if I will have the answer, but if not, so I'm completely happy to make some research and help you if I can do it. Thank you very much.
Hi, Chris. Thank you. We don't have much time, although we always say that if people will hang around and keep talking, that's all right. Need to remember that the conference goes on. So your time is officially up, but if you guys want to remain here and chat, of course, it's absolutely right of you, you know. Let me just translate that for them. Pessoal, o nosso tempo está oficialmente terminado, tá? Mas nós sempre dizemos, o tempo de vocês é livre, evidentemente, não mandem ninguém. Então, se vocês desejarem estarem aqui com o Chris conversando, não são livres absolutamente para fazer isso. Só tem que se lembrar que o evento continua, né? Tá? Então, obrigado a todos e a todas por participarem. Então, eu vou somente encerrar a sala, mas o que vocês vão fazer a partir daqui é com os senhores e com as senhoras. Chris, I'm officially stopping the recording right now and leaving the room. If you want to keep hanging here.